It was all good just a week ago when Bob Arum was singing Terence Crawford's praises about how he was the best and #1 pound for pound.
And I mean this. Spence and Garcia are fighting December 5. If they really want to make a big pay-per-view, I'll put Terence Crawford in with both of them, one at a time, and he beat both of them the same night. He is far and away the best welterweight in the world. He goes back to the great welterweights like Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. He would have been competitive with them. The welterweights around now are not competitive with Terence Crawford.
And Bob, you know that what made that era great is that everybody fought everybody, and you were able to make the fights with the heavyweights, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, twice. Will we see Bud in the ring with Errol Spence in the near future?
Errol Spence will try to avoid Terence Crawford as long as he can because he knows he can't beat Terence Crawford. You saw the performance tonight. I mean, he'll take out Errol Spence in about the same number of rounds like he took out Kell Brook.
But recently, he's been going on a tirade, explaining how Terence Crawford is bad for business and Top Rank should really be deciding whether or not they want to re-sign him. Of course, this is in response to Terence Crawford having his lawyer send a letter to Top Rank expressing his displeasure with his lack of marquee opposition in his career thus far. Bob Arum must have taken it as a personal slight and started going on some vicious tirades berating his own fighter, Terence Crawford. Bob Arum told The Athletic, "I don't give a ish if Terence Crawford got mad. This business is not about getting mad. This business is about facts and the reality of the situation. What I say that was wrong. I'll show him how much we've lost on his fights." Arum questioned if a proposed fight with Errol Spence Jr. would give him value for his money in light of Crawford's financial performance. "Again, if we did this fight with Spence and put our money in for half of the risk, and Crawford wins and Heyman wants to sign him, be my guest. For Christ's sake, in other words, I am not going to go in my pocket anymore for Terence Crawford. I don't have to make a lot of money with him on this, but I know I'll break even or make a couple of dollars. I'm no longer in the business of losing money on Terence Crawford." I wish I could say it stopped there, but Bob Arum wasn't done roasting his #1 pound for pound fighter. Take a listen. "He's got to promote like Lopez. He's got to promote like Shakur does, like Mayweather did, like Manny Pacquiao did," Arum stated in the post-fight interview. "If he doesn't, then who the F needs him? He may be the greatest fighter in the world, but hey, I am not going bankrupt promoting him. The question is, do we want to keep him? I could build a house in Beverly Hills on the money I've lost on him in the last 3 fights. A beautiful home. Nobody questions Crawford's innate tremendous ability. By beating a naturally bigger guy decisively, that's a big statement that he's making. The question is, does he pay the bills? Look, you can have the biggest opera singer in the world. If the fans don't support it, you're out of business." Bob Arum's critique of Terence Crawford not promoting himself and not being as charismatic as, say, Shakur Stevenson or Teofimo Lopez, Floyd Mayweather, and Manny Pacquiao was met with resistance, not only by Terence Crawford, but by promoters in other sports.
I heard Bob Arum fucking little bitch crying about it. Fuck him. I had to throw that in there. I fucking hate that guy. Anyway.
Did you see his fight, not to bitch on Bob Arum, but he said that, I've lost so much money on Terence Crawford, I could build a house in Beverly Hills or something?
You imagine if I said that? Are you fucking kidding me? You guys would murder me if I said that. I'd never hear the end of that. That's what you do. That's not his fucking problem. That's your problem. His problem isn't to figure out how you make money. You fucking signed a deal with this kid. Your job is to promote him. Your job is, you made a deal. All these kids that I sign, you know, and if you look right now at all the kids that we sign and how many people we have on our roster is very inflated right now. We have a very, very big roster, the biggest roster we've ever had in the history of the company. I have to pay all these kids. How I pay them is not their fucking problem. It's my fucking problem. And this guy wants to go, imagine me saying, oh, I gotta pay Conor McGregor fucking this much money. I could have built a house in Beverly Hills. Shut the fuck up, you fucking scumbag. Pay your fucking fighter what you owe him. That's your job. Bob Arum is a piece of fucking shit. Good night, everybody.
But don't get it twisted. The feeling is mutual. And Bob Arum can't stand Dana White either.
Do you see White working with anyone else?
Who gives a shit with White? He's a piece of crap.
But you just said you welcomed him to the sport.
Yes, because then it's an acknowledgement how strong boxing is. He has a UFC that's cratering, and he needs boxing to save himself.
I have to admit, it's kind of funny to see Bob Arum and Dana White have so much animosity from one another. It kind of makes you wonder who would win in a fight. Don't sleep on Bob. In fact, if they were to fight, the odds would be 7-1 in Bob's favor. But all jokes aside, you know, when it comes to Dana White, this is what's going on in Bob Arum's head.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Terence Crawford responded to Bob Arum saying that he was a bad investment, bad at self-promotion, and a financial liability on the Ark and Barack show.
If he feel that way, you know what I mean, he can release me now. You know what I mean? Like, he can just release me. If you feel like you don't have no, you know what I mean, I'm not an asset to your company anymore, then, you know what I mean, you can release me right now. You don't have to wait till after a Spence fight. Why do you have to wait till after a Spence fight? You know what I mean? Release me now, then you don't have to lose any money no more. You know what I mean? If I'm such of a loss, a headache, you know what I mean? Like,
How important at this point in your career, Bud, is the Errol Spence fight? Like legacy fights.
It's not that important. I keep telling everybody it's not that important. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need Errol Spence for my legacy. I don't know why people trying to make it seem like I need Errol Spence. He need me. I don't need him.
I must admit, as an advocate of keep that same energy, I was baffled when Terence Crawford said he was okay if the Errol Spence fight never happened and that he didn't need the fight, and somehow convinced himself that Earl needs this fight more than he does. What it is, in fact, his promoter saying that he's losing money on his fights, and it is Terence Crawford who, in fact, had his lawyer write a letter to Top Rank saying that he's never had a marquee opponent. But somehow on the radio, it is his belief that Errol Spence needs the fight with him more than he needs the fight with Errol Spence. But most importantly, he's okay if this fight doesn't happen. He made that statement in November 2020. But let's take a look at what Terence Crawford was saying in January of 2020. On January 6, 2020, Terence Crawford had a mean case of Twitter fingers when he wrote, "What you mean? I told you to your face what it was. Like I said, you the one running behind this wrong side of the street BS. You could have been said, let's fight, but you been ducking wreck. Heal up like I said. When you come back, I'll get on your head when you ready." Terence Crawford went on to say, "And stop using the effing promoters, managers, and advisors for that weak A excuse y'all doing. They work for us, y'all dumb MF. If you really want a fight, you tell them I don't give two Fs. That's who I want to fight. Let your nuts drop. You say you your own boss at Errol Spence Jr." To which Errol Spence replied, "It sound good. Only time I hear yo ish is on social media. Don't act like a boss now, like he don't handle yo ish. We been told yo handler Bob what it take to make it happen. I don't choke off smoke, dude. Now, in reviewing this, Terence Crawford initiated this exchange because he's the one who wrote the tweet saying, "Why you running? Stop hiding behind promoters. They work for y'all, you dumb MFs." But ironically, it's now his promoter who's bashing him, saying that he's a financial liability, he's a financial risk, and his promoter is the one who's trying to set up the Spence fight, and Terence Crawford is saying he wants Manny Pacquiao. But we'll get into that a little later. I'm kind of jumping the gun here. Let's get back to the exchange between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence on January 6, 2020. Terence Crawford wrote, "Keep defending him because I'm telling all y'all now, and I mean what I say, when that day come, when I knock him, all I want all y'all to keep that same energy because he gon' cry in the car. He wasn't built for this ish I got over here. Just watch me show the world." Earl responded, "Fight not gonna get made on here." Terence Crawford wrote, "You right. I'm gonna call you right now. Pick up your phone." So remember, I'm a huge advocate of keep that same energy. And that's what TC told everyone when he said keep that same energy because he gonna cry in the car. Saying that Earl's gonna cry in the car after he beat him. And wants everyone to keep the same energy after he beats Earl. The exchange concluded with Terence Crawford tweeting, "At Errol Spence Jr. is a cool dude on some real ish. We both agree the fight will happen."
If you can't get Pacquiao, who would you want?
I already said I want Spence.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that fight not going to happen because he already talking a 60-40 deal. And if it ain't 60-40 in my favor, then that fight is not going to happen. Period.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't accomplish way more than he accomplished in his little career. You know what I mean? So
little career.
I don't care. I really like I told people, I really don't care if that fight happened or not no more.
Mm.
I used to be all up on that fight. You know what I mean? But the way things have been going these last couple of years, it just rubbed off on me. I don't care about it no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we fight, we fight. If we don't, we don't. I'm not the one that is the reason why it didn't happen. And I'm not the one that they say, "Oh, well, you need Spence." Why would I need Spence? Why would I need Spence? A lot of people say I need Spence. I don't need Spence. The fans want Spence.
But I haven't heard that one that you need him. I mean, I just think that's a great fight for both of y'all.
That's all
I haven't.
That's all I hear. A lot of people.
What you say?
People be like,
For
he
real?
needs Spence. A lot of people be like, he needs Spence. I don't need Spence. You know what I mean? What have Spence accomplished in his career that I haven't, or more? What have he accomplished? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm considered the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, because all of my accolades and my numbers speak for itself.
By the time we finish this video, you can decide whether or not TC's accolades and his numbers speak for themselves. But what I will say is, it doesn't seem like he's keeping that same energy. In January, he said that the fight will happen, and they both agreed that the fight will happen. He just acknowledged in that video that Spence gave him an offer, 60-40. And in response to that offer, he goes to Twitter and says, "Well, look like that fight will never happen." And then people responded and they say 60-40 is reasonable, bud. Spence has more belts and is the bigger draw. To which Terence Crawford responded, "You stupid. You one of them guys. How many belts I have won? How many have he won? Then come back to me." And then Q Monster said, "How many you win at 47? Stop living off your 140-pound days." So basically, that's big facts. TC is in the welterweight division, but he keeps talking about what he accomplished at 140. But at 147, Errol Spence is the unified champion. Instead of going to Twitter and saying it looks like the fight's not going to happen because you don't like the split, there's this thing called negotiations. there's this thing called counter offers. If you believe that you deserve more than 40%, then you present the facts and the evidence as to why you deserve more than 40%. Although I have to admit, it hurts your case when your manager and your promoter is saying that you are a bad investment. That really hurts your case. Your manager is saying he'd rather build a house in Beverly Hills than do business with you any longer. So I think you really should take a second look at that 60-40, because you're talking about you never had a marquee opponent. You never had a big time fight. This is your chance. But if you feel like the offer's too low, make a counter, negotiate. That's how big fights get made.
Pound for pound fighters is Canelo Alvarez. I put him as number one because he's won titles at 154, 160, 168, and 175. Number two, I put Chocolito. I'm a big fan of him. I feel like he's just a great fighter, and I don't think he gets to just do that he deserves from beating a lot of opponents in the way he beats opponents. Number three, I put myself because I'm just a great fighter. I fought the best in my weight class. I've beaten them, I'm the unified champion, and hopefully I will become the disputed champion in a year or two. Number four, I put Terence Crawford. He's won title from 130 to 147. Great fighter, he got good skills.
A few things of note. They said your name. Earl Spence said your name. Not only did Earl Spence say your name, TC, he put you at number 4 in his top 5 pound for pound, the spot just below his. And he said one key thing. He wants to be undisputed champion. He wants to be undisputed champion. And you, my friend, have the WBO championship. That means he has to fight you and he has to fight Manny Pacquiao. So, again, he's saying your name. He's respecting your career by putting you on the pound for pound list, and you're downplaying him, his little career. I don't need him. He needs me. I don't need him. Who seems more serious about making a fight? As an objective observer, seriously. You have one person who was on Instagram, Twitter, taking it to social media, bringing all the smoke, saying when I beat him, he's going to cry in the car, keep that same energy, announce we agreed the fight will happen. You have one fighter who just made an offer, 60-40, and then TC, well, the fight's never going to happen with his little career. Earl Spence, on the other hand, just put Terence Crawford in his top 5 pound for pound, one slot below him. He didn't slight him. He put him one slot below him and said, I want to be undisputed champion, which means he has to fight Terence Crawford. What happened to this?
Talking about?
Whatever.
Try that body shot shit.
I'm gonna stop you. Easy. I'm gonna stop you easy. That shit gonna be easy work. I promise you.
I'm solid as a rock.
I'm gonna knock you out, bro.
On
You
that,
been hurt.
that's fact.
You got hurt by getting bored.
That's fact.
You got hurt by getting bored. Yeah.
You got hurt by Ocampo. You got hurt by Ocampo.
When have I got hurt by Ocampo?
And you got hurt by Kelbrook. And you got hurt by Kelbrook.
When? We seen you get wobbly leg. We seen you get wobbly leg.
Then what?
We seen you
after that.
It don't matter.
After that.
Wait
till I hit you.
Sorry.
You gonna look like Benavidez. You.
Yeah, one leg.
You gonna look like one leg.
Yeah, one leg. I'm gonna make
you do the stanky leg.
What you want to bet on that?
What you want to bet on?
We can bet 100,000 on that.
Let's bet $1 million.
Easy.
Let's bet $1 million. You getting that money, right?
Easy. We can bet $1 million easy. What are you talking about?
There it goes.
We're talking crazy.
What happened to the man that pulled up on Earl Spence and bet him $1 million that he was going to beat him? Shook on it. There's a legitimate argument that could be made that was a legally binding contract. It is on camera. You both agreed to it. You negotiated it. Earl Spence said, let's put 100,000 on it. A reasonable bet, a gentleman's bet. It's been done before. I believe it was Fernando Vargas and Shane Mosley. Fernando Vargas bet Shane Mosley $100,000 he was going to beat him in a fight. Shane Mosley said, I'll take that bet. They shook on it. Shane Mosley beat Fernando Vargas. And guess what? Fernando Vargas paid him the money. Here you saw Earl Spence make a reasonable bet. Oh, we can put 100,000 on it. But no, TC said, make it $1 million. You getting bread, right? And Earl Spence said, fine. TC negotiated. So, you know what? In doing that, TC proved he knows how to negotiate. He knew how to negotiate that bet from $100,000 to $1 million. But he doesn't know how to negotiate a split. Doesn't know how to do that then. Well, why don't you take the 60-40 split, beat Earl Spence, and claim that $1 million? How about that? I just cracked the case right there. You guys have a legally binding bet for $1 million on the table. So why don't you say 60-40 split, and when I beat you, because I was so confident that I can beat you, that I negotiated a $1 million bet. So 60-40 split, and then after I beat you, you pay me my $1 million, right? Earl Spence says, right. And then, boom, there it is. There it is. But where's that energy? Where's that pull up? Where's that, oh, I'm going to knock you? I'm not seeing that. Things have changed. And I wonder why.
At the Star when he defended his title against Carlos Ocampo. Last year when he defended his title to nearly 50,000 fans. Mikey Garcia